Hi, I'm Rhiannon. This is the continuation of my role play, just the discussion and reflection. Um, the reason why I chose primarily role playing with Matt was that he was clearly very nervous and apprehensive about the idea of talking to a female on an intimate level, even just the idea of asking her out clearly made him nervous and hesitant to try. I thought that giving him an opportunity to practice and rehearse some ways to just start some conversation with the female that he met in the cafe would help give him a bit of courage and perhaps try and develop a bit of faith in himself that he could do it. I also thought that by taking the pressure off and encouraging him just to make conversation with her as he would any other normal female, regardless of whether it's on an intimate level or not, just to give him a bit of, just a bit more confidence and a bit more self-esteem. Furthermore, I then also decided that it might be beneficial for him to also keep a journal or just do a few diary entries over the week with how he's feeling, whether his nervousness and apprehension towards talking to her is improving. And I also encouraged him just to think about the thoughts and emotions that are going through his head when he is talking to her, and just to sort of write them down, have a think about how he could overcome them, and also just after our first role play, sort of reflecting back on how he thinks it's helped, if it has helped, and whether he thinks that it will continue to improve. I think the person that actually did the role play with me is actually the reason I chose him to do it was because he's a 29-year-old single male who's never actually been in a relationship, and is actually very very apprehensive and nervous about talking to women. But any idea of trying to ask a woman out, and he is overcome with feelings of being let down and being embarrassed. So the nervousness that he's shown on the video is actually real. I think that with the way that I spoke to him and encouraged him to talk, that it did help. I did notice that towards the end of our 10-15 minute discussion that he had relaxed a little bit, and that he felt a little bit more comfortable. And even afterwards, he actually said that it's something that he should actually think about doing, practicing how to talk to a girl like that with somebody who's comfortable like me, because we've known each other since university, so 5 years ago. So I think that was really good. I just think that the way that I'm able to talk to someone and encourage them to share their story is good. I think that I'm glad that when I asked him about the breakdown of his previous relationship, the reason for it, I'm glad that when he said he wasn't comfortable to answer it, that I was able to move on without sort of dwelling on the fact that he didn't answer it. I think previously, before learning about counselling and things, I would have sort of been quite concerned that he didn't answer the question, and probably would have tried to delve further into it and sort of try and find out why. Whereas now I realise that it's something that he obviously wasn't ready to talk about yet, and that it's really important to work at their own speed and where they're comfortable, which is also an area that I thought I did quite well with. Because of his nervousness, the role play obviously didn't go for very long, and it continually kept being interrupted by me giving him just little prompts as to how he could continue the conversation to go, which I think was both a good and negative thing on my behalf. I think it's good that I was able to support him and sort of help him along. Obviously, being the first time that he'd done it, I think that would need to be less in future sessions. I think that it would happen a lot easier and much more freely. But then on the same token, I think that I should have allowed more time for him to have a think about where he could go from there. I really, one thing that I have to work on is the fact that a client pausing after a question and thinking about their answer and whether or not they want to answer, or coming up with a continuing conversation in this role play like this situation was. Just not being afraid of the silence on my behalf, and knowing that it's okay that they're thinking about things, and that I shouldn't and won't, will try not to rush them. I've got to remember that if this is at their speed, not at mine. I think that using this cognitive behavioural therapy technique for this client definitely had its benefits. I think being able to practice and work on his courage and self-esteem, being able to practice a conversation with a female and creating a conversation that could possibly lead to him asking her out, and also encouraging him to write a diary would be very beneficial for a client like that. Just like my friend Steve said, he believes that it actually would be great for him to sort of do that sort of thing in real life to give him a bit of courage. I sort of found it difficult to know how, when he mentioned things about his previous marriage and what went wrong, I believe that that it would be beneficial for him in his own time to be able to reflect back on that and perhaps discuss it and work through perhaps some issues that are lingering from that time. With that in mind, I didn't really know how to fit that in with the cognitive behavioural therapy. Because it's sort of working on the now, it's working on the person, what they're dealing with now, which is the fact that they're having trouble talking to women on an intimate level and they have low self-esteem. It doesn't really allow for us to go back and reflect on the roots of where that comes from and what was caused, or I couldn't sort of figure out a way to incorporate that anyway. So in that case, I probably would have weighed up whether cognitive behavioural therapy would be ideal for him, and it is with his current situation, but I believe that some sort of other therapy that would allow us to reflect back through his past and sort of really give him a safe environment where he can actually talk about the way that some things in his past have affected him, and be able to equip him with tools and strategies to be able to deal with it properly. I think that it went well, and I think that in a real life situation, if that was a real client and we did continue counselling sessions where we continued to practice role playing, I actually truly believe that it would give him courage to, at the beginning, just discuss and converse with her more than what he was. And that by removing the pressure, I find that it probably would have ended up in him having enough confidence and being comfortable with her and the situation that he would be able to ask her out. And by explaining to him that the fact that he's sought counselling for this problem, he's actually overcome his fear and asked him out, those pros far outweigh the con that if she did turn him down. It obviously would have been hard for him, but he would walk away thinking, look how far I've come. So I think that either way, this would have been beneficial. Thank you, and see you next month.